it's fine.
But don't forget you guys, that cold.
I gave it to them, I didn't take it. For just as the body is one and has many members, and all members of the body, though many, are one body, so it is with Christ.
For in one Spirit we were all baptized into one body, Jews or Greeks, slaves or free, and we were all made to drink of one Spirit.
Indeed, the body does not consist of one member, but of many.
If the foot would say, because I am not a hand, I do not belong to the body, that would not make it any less part of the body.
And its ear would say, because I am not an eye, I do not belong to the body, that would not make it any less a part of the body.
If the whole body were an eye, where would the hearing be? If the whole body were hearing, where would the sense of smell be?
But as it is, God arranged the members in the body, each one of them as He chose.
If all were a single member, where would the body be?
As it is, there are many members, yet one body.
The eye cannot say to the hand, I have no need of you, nor again the head to the feet, I have no need of you.
On the contrary, the members of the body that seem to be the weaker are indispensable.
And those members of the body that we think less honorable, we clothe with great honor, and our less respectable members are treated with great respect.
Whereas our more respectable members do not need this, but God has so arranged the body, giving the greater honor to the inferior member.
That there be no dissension in the body, but the members may have the same care for one another.
If one member suffers, all suffer together with it. If one member is honored, all rejoice together with it. It is from that last verse which I like to get us started out this morning. If one member suffers, all suffer. We saw this in our course with our children's story this morning, but also in a way with the man with the withered hand in the gospel account. His hand was not well. He knew it. He desired for it to be healed. He didn't just neglect it. He sought healing. To be restored completely. Not just keep what was already, but seek restoration. Jesus sought to heal him. However, those religious leaders who were following Jesus said, it's the Sabbath. You can't do anything. For them, healing was so good, but it had to be on their terms and on their time schedule. Sorry, I'm too busy doing something else. Is that right? Christ gave the best answer. Of course He would. He's Christ. Basically, He said, it is always lawful to do good. He gave the example, if you had a sheep falling into a pit, would you wait till the next day to go take it out? No, you would get it out. But yet, this happens within the church body at times. And by this I mean we neglect. Maybe by pure oversight, not knowing, or being wrapped up in other things. We see a member in our church, or several members, who aren't being as spiritually healthy as they could be. And we let them wander and wander until they no longer are sitting with us. We may miss them. And then when we go ask them, why aren't you coming? They may, more than likely, will give us some other story. But a lot of it is, They were hurt by the neglect. No one paid attention to them. They were hurting and they were ignored. And because they were hurting and ignored, it not only affected them, but it affected the church as well. So then what does a healthy church member look like? And if you grab my sermon notes, don't worry, I'm going to give you the abbreviated version. Because it's 4 pages here. No, 17 minutes and the organ shuts off. Oh, okay. I'm on a timer here. Okay, but one of the probably the most first one we'll look at, let's put it this way, is that when you come to church on Sunday or go to a Bible study during the week, what are you doing with that message? You're probably here soaking it in, taking it in, but is that where it's staying? Are you mulling it over that afternoon, talking it about with your friends, discussing it, seeing how it develops into your life, then applying it? Let it take root. Just as much time as I try to spend in preparing a message, we as church members, yes, even myself, listening to what I'm saying and then trying to divulge out new areas in my own life of how that message hits home to even to me. And I can't always do that by myself. Get in discussion with these 4 ladies over here one time and just sitting down saying, okay, how are things going, da-da-da. And we talk, what did you think of Sunday, sir? And then Marilyn comes up with an idea I'd never even thought of. Wow, that makes sense. That's something which we should be doing. Taking time to not be entertained on a Sunday morning listening to me. Because there are better programs than always listening to me. But the message, what God is saying, is more important than what's on television. A second thing is being a student of the Bible. Not just hearing a sermon, but studying the Bible for yourselves. As 2 Timothy tells us, do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a worker who does not need to be ashamed and who correctly handles the very word of truth. Take it in. Study it. Be like the church at Berea. After Paul went to Philippi, Thessalonica, he went to Berea. There, the Jews heard what Paul had to say, and they pulled it. Then they went home, broke out their scriptures. Oh, interesting. It was more than just reading the Bible. It was studying, knowing what it said in and out. And you can do that individually or in small group Bible studies. Again, because there are things which we miss, and we need each other. Also, it is one who, a healthy church member is one who is saturated by the gospel message. You're not just saved, oh, I accepted Jesus on such and such a date. But it is one who, as Philippians 2 tells us, works out one's salvation daily. Yes, you're saved, but you're not completely holy. Be involved in stuff, using every element of your life. Building relationships where you can meet with people, telling them about Jesus, going on short-term mission trips, volunteering in the community to help them see the love of Christ. These are just a few ideas. but basically taking the gospel message that Jesus came so that you might have a relationship with the Father and a better relationship with your fellow man. You've already got that restoration through Jesus Christ. Now work it out by getting to know God more, by reading your Word, His Word, and then living it out by getting to know and help your neighbors. And of course, one must have a true conversion experience. It's not just going up during a revival and saying, I accept Jesus, I pray, okay. No, there has to be a true repentance of heart. Realizing that you cannot earn salvation on your own. That you cannot do anything worthy of God without Jesus Christ. All our works and deeds are vile. They're refuge. Probably refuge is even too good of a word. But because of Jesus, and we repent of our wickedness, we can live a life according and pleasing to Him. Another aspect of a healthy church member is one who, I'm going to say the E word, evangelism. Telling others about Jesus. Now, there are different gifts of the Spirit, some teaching, some preaching, some helps, some healing, and you also have the gift of the evangelist. But Jesus didn't say in Matthew 28, all you evangelists get together and go out and tell the whole world. Everyone else can sit in the corner. He said, all my disciples, you are to go out to the ends of the earth, making other disciples, baptizing them in my name, and teaching them. Every one of us, we have been given that command. In order to be healthy, we've got to make sure we express it. We cannot sit in the corner and hoard it. Also, you must be a committed member to a local congregation. You can't just sit in the corner and show up for Easter and Christmas. You can't just send in a check every so while. I support the church. It means more than that. It means, of course, attending. It means building one another up. I like this setting right here, right now, because we're closer together physically than we are when we're upstairs. This way we can rub shoulders with one another, get to know one another, be there for one another, or at least try to. I could have been there for Fred and Ann this weekend, but there was no way I'm going to make it through their snow to help dig them out. But they knew they were in my prayers. But we need to be there supporting one another and being involved in any activity of the church. We can't be involved with every activity. We may not have the talent, we may not have the time, but being supportive of what the church is doing. Another aspect of a healthy church member is one who loves discipline. No, I'm not saying that church members are masochists who love getting their hands swatted when they do something wrong. But discipline and disciple come from the same word. It means one who takes up a certain avenue or walk of life to reach a certain destination, whether it be a mindset or a trade. When we accepted Christ, we were called to be Christians. We were called to be ones who submit to the method of His thinking, to plan and follow Him the best way we can, to realize discipline is there to make us better. Another characteristic is that we are humble followers. We build leaders, but we ultimately give authority to Christ. But we also support those in the leadership of the church. And I may be the pastor. I may be preaching the Bible. But we are a congregation-oriented church. It is we're together in unison by the Spirit. That is the true leadership. If those 4 kids were members of the church, they would have as much say as anyone else here. And in some respects, they might have more wisdom than many of us here. But we need to make sure that we listen. Listen to one and all. And lastly, a church member is one who is a prayer warrior. One who comes to God's house praying for each other, lifting one another up, always praying. Praying for those who are doing well as praying for those who may be leading people astray. Praying that they will get correction themselves. Praying for their betterment. But we are to be people of prayer. Because we can be people of action, but then we're no different than any other organization on the face of the earth. But we have prayer. Because we're connected to God. And therefore, if we have this connection, let us use it. I am certain that most of us here do not meet all of these qualifications on any given day. There might be some points where we're better equipped than others. And then the next day it might be totally something different. But that just reminds me back to that withered man. There are probably days his hands was feeling pretty good. But for the most part, it was unhealthy. He probably couldn't pick up that glass of water. There are days when you are not at your spiritual best. Don't keep it to yourself. Let us know. We'll pray with you. We'll help you in any way possible. Because we are a family who cares. You know this better than me. I say that because of the size of Cordova. You know everyone. I grew up in a town of 70,000. I maybe knew the people in my block, maybe. Here you know everyone. Matter of fact, most of you are related to each other.
Yeah.
But you're there because you are a family. Not just because of blood ties or marriage certificates. But you realize that you should come together. We need to do that in order to be healthy ourselves, because when one person is sick, we are all sick. We are not at our best. We need each other. Now, I know I said a lot, and if you try to read through that sermon I gave you, it's going to be long and meticulous. As we were here this morning, this is the best answer right here. Read your church covenant. Study it. This is what we have pledged each month that we are going to do. Live it out. Live in brotherly love and help one another to think and speak and act as Christians. Share each other's joys and endeavor with tenderness and sympathy to bear one another's burdens and sorrows. Make prayer a part of our daily living, seeking God's help to enable us to do our daily task and overcome temptation and live righteously. course, attend services of the church with regularity. Doesn't say just Easter. We pledge ourselves to give cheerfully to the church. And this is more than just monetarily. Give of yourselves. When we do move, if the Lord calls us to move, we will find another church family to tie with, because we are part of a greater church family. And we will seek to live to the glory of Him who has called us. That's a bunch of, I probably could just preach that this morning. That is a church, healthy church member. Let us all strive to do that. Let us be a perfect church by being a perfect, healthy church member. Shall we now sing number 429, They'll Know We Are Christians.